Hey, are you someone who is just realizing that you're creative, or maybe you used to be creative and you haven't been for a long time and you're trying to get back into it? And maybe the element that you're going into or the medium you're trying to get into is painting, but you're looking at the cost of getting into it and you're not sure if you're going to keep going with painting, and you don't want to spend that kind of money in order to just try something. Well, I've been there. So I found a way to not spend a ton of money and start painting. And I want to share that with you today. Hi, I'm John, and I'm the Artisan's Disciple. Or at least I'm one of the Artisan's Disciples. So let's jump right into it. So let's start with the funnest item first, the paint. And I want to tell you, if you've heard that you need all these different colors, you're seeing artists use all kinds of, they have 10 tubes of paint or drawers full of tubes of paint, different colors. You actually only need 5 different colors. And the brand of paint that I'm going to be recommending today is this Liquitex Basics acrylic paint. And the reason for that is you can get a 4-ounce tube, which lasts you quite a while, for only right now around, I think, $6.50 at the moment. I know prices keep going up, so later in the future, these used to be $5. But when you look at professional grade paints or oil-based paints, you can easily pay, $15 or more sometimes for just half this much. So these really are a pretty good deal. They'll last you a while, and you can actually do, even though they're student grade, you can actually do professional paints, very nice paintings. This is the first painting that I was willing to show anybody anyways. And this was done with this type of paint. This was a tutorial done by Lisa off of a channel called Lockery Fine Art by Lisa Lockery. The fish was. And then I looked at some corals, some pictures of corals, and just kind of practiced painting what I saw. So you can absolutely make very nice paintings with these student grade paints. So we only need 5 different colors. And these 5 colors will get you every color you need. We have what we're using as our 3 primaries, our blue, yellow, and we're using magenta as one of our primaries because even though you were taught red in art class, if you add some yellow, a little bit of yellow in with your magenta, you can actually get some really nice reds. And of course, if you add more, you get even brighter, really nice bright or saturated oranges. Now, the first color we're going to use is the phthalo blue. And I want to direct your attention to a paint code down here, because across different brands, they're going to use different names for the same color. But the paint code is going to be the same across all brands. So if you want to get a color that you're used to mixing, used to using in a different brand name, you're going to want to pay attention to this paint code. So the paint code for the phthalo blue is PB15:3. I've also seen I've also used PB15 without the :3, and that one works pretty well as well. Then we've got our what's called primary yellow, or PY74. I've also seen it called Hansa yellow, Azo yellow, a variety of names. And we've got our quinacridone magenta, sometimes called primary magenta or just magenta. And its paint code is PR122. And then we've got our white. I recommend this transparent mixing white because it allows you to get some it's more of a translucent paint, so if you're trying to get some misty effects and different things, it's actually better for that as opposed to titanium white, although you can use titanium white also. This is also called zinc white, and its code is PW6. And lastly, we have burnt umber. Our paint code is PBR7. Now, some of you may have been expecting me to recommend black, and I used to recommend black, but I actually no longer recommend that because you can combine this with your blue and get a really nice black. And when you mix with these, it's actually easier to mix them with the black. You can mix with the black, it's just a little bit harder. Also, it's nice to have a dollar more desaturated brown in the mix too, because while you can use your 3 primaries to make a brown, they make a very bright, very saturated brown, and then you have to dull it down with your black. And that's a lot more difficult than dulling it down or just mixing in with this burnt umber. One thing to note about this paint code, PBR7, this one is actually one of the exceptions to the rule. As far as like each paint code gets you the exact same color every single time. There are several shades of this PBR7, both burnt umber and raw umber, several other names. So I don't really know why that is. That's like a chemistry thing that I'm not familiar with. But I've actually used raw umber to mix a black because it's the same paint code. So, you can just pay attention. Burnt umber tends to be the darkest, tends to be the dullest. So that's why I would recommend that one. So let's talk real quick about paintbrushes, because paintbrushes, you can spend a lot of money on paintbrushes depending on what you're doing. There are stiffer paintbrushes, there are softer paintbrushes. It really depends on your style as to which one you're going to want to use. But if you want to start with just one, you can get those little cheap paintbrushes or just craft paintbrushes and start with those. But if you're trying to just get one brush, you're like, hey, I know kind of what I want. I want to get one nicer brush. I mean, the round brush to me is the most versatile because you can get smaller lines with that tip and you can kind of squish it out to get some of that thicker stuff. A lot of people really like to also start with a flat brush. Again, it's works great. You can make lines. You can do thicker stuff that way. It's just kind of whatever you want to start with. As you move along, you might want to get some more brushes. Fan brushes are great. You can do so many things with them. A lot of fun. Then you have your liner brushes. And this one's supposed to be together. This is an older brush. When I get it wet, it all kind of sticks together in one. And they just make your thinner lines very useful. You can also make lines with this kind of brush. I believe it's called a dagger brush. Yeah, dagger or a dagger striper is what is written on this one. Very useful, very nice. And if you really want to do smooth paintings, this would be a filbert style. You see, it's like a flat brush, but it's rounded on the top a little bit. Gets you really nice, smooth blends. If you want to paint with a palette knife, you can. I don't do it much. Mostly I use my palette knife just for mixing paint. So it's a useful tool as well if you'd like to get one. But again, you don't have to break the bank to get brushes. You can get just a couple of cheap brushes to start with. Or, just get the one round brush. Or the one flat brush. It's totally up to you. And to be honest, you probably don't have to spend any more money than that. Because to wash your brushes out, you can just get a cheap disposable cup or an old cup that you have laying around, maybe one you got from a restaurant, and you just rinse your brushes out in this. I mean, I use these. Just a disposable red cup that I already had in the house. I don't recommend that you use one that you drink out of regularly, though, because they tend to build up this residue. You can wash it out of there, but it's just, you don't want to have to. You just want your own cup. As far as a palette goes, you can use a paper plate. You can use an old plate. You can grab a piece of wood. You can grab a piece of cardboard, although you might want to prime it with some paint or something so the paint doesn't start soaking into the cardboard. You can use so many different things. Anything that'll hold the paint that you don't mind just having paint dried on a little bit, because acrylic paint does dry very quickly. And for that reason, if you got a little extra money, one of the nice things that I would recommend is called a wet palette. I happen to have bought one. You don't need to buy one. All they are is you got something that holds water. It could be paper towel, some rags. There's a little piece of sponge in this one. And you get that damp, and then you put a piece of paper on it, or just parchment paper out of your kitchen. If you've got some parchment paper in your kitchen, that works perfectly fine. You don't have to go out and buy special paper. Get any container that will hold that, little Tupperware container, whatever, and you can put your paints on those, and that will prevent them from drying on your palette, which is pretty nice. But again, you don't have to have this. This is just something nice to have. And finally, we've got, what do you paint on? Well, you can do all kinds of things. I mean, if you own your own house, you can paint on your walls. But as long as your wife doesn't get mad at you. But you can paint on cardboard, you can paint on wood, you can buy canvases if you'd like. You can go purchase canvases. You can get rolls of canvas pads. There's actually some really nice like acrylic painting paper pads out there in the craft stores, and I became aware of about a year ago, and they work very, very well. So there are so many things you can paint on. I wouldn't recommend regular paper though, because it'll kind of curl and warp on you with the water. But all kinds of things. If you are going to do cardboard too, like from a cereal box, you might want to tape it down on something, just because it'll just start to curl a little bit on you if it's a thin cardboard. And cardboard or wood, I'd put a layer of white paint down before you start doing your painting, just to make sure your colors show up the way they're supposed to. But honestly, have fun with it. My grandfather, before he went home to be with the Lord, he was excellent at this. He would find all kinds of old backs of old signs, cardboard. He even used styrofoam one time, which was kind of cool because styrofoam has like that texture on the surface, and it kind of made some interesting effects. So it was really fun to see what he did. And you can have fun with it too. So I'm hoping this was really helpful. This blessed you. And if you are thinking about getting into painting, that this kind of opens the door up for you. And you're able to go ahead and try it and enjoy your creative journey. If you have any further questions, maybe about how the paints mix, or if you're hey, I mentioned I used to think I was not creative, not an artist, and you want to hear more about that story, I'd be happy to share it. I'd be happy to share anything that's helpful. Just drop a comment down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye. You can buy paint on a ring.
Forgot your ring on.
I forgot my ring.
It's okay.
My wife's back there and told me I forgot to put my wedding ring on. She's right. I don't always wear it because it gets tense. Anyway, I'm sorry, honey. I'm distracted by the ring now.